Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name is Cameron and I'm going to show you how to create your very own fonts. The first thing we're going to do is just go over the app that we're using, sort of a small tutorial of just familiarizing yourself with the interface and how the app works. Then we're going to do and start off very simple, maybe draw our very first letter, and then just before we start that, the app is called Fontself, and it is free to use, and everything on the app is including the free version except for exporting your fonts, meaning to use them in other apps. So if you just want to create fonts for the fun of it, then you can use the free version and you don't have to pay anything. And then the premium version, which is the paid version, allows you to use the fonts in documents and in Procreate and everything. So yeah, that's just the basics of Fontself. This is what the icon looks like here down at the bottom. And then when we open up the app, and this is what it looks like. It's really simple. It's not very difficult, sort of similar to Procreate. A lot of the shortcuts and everything are the same. So yeah, let's jump right into the app. So the basics of it is that we have our home button here. The discover button allows you to watch videos just to get more familiar with the app and being able to see what it does. But for today's video's purposes, we don't really need that. What's new is just updates on what's changing in the app. And then this tab here, this question mark bubble on the far right, allows you to watch tutorials on how the app works, how to draw specific fonts, which is really helpful if you guys want to learn on your own. And then the get help is just if you don't know what anything is. But honestly, I don't think we'll need this except for the watch tutorials. It's always nice to learn new things. And then here you'll see there's templates. So we've got hand, curl, scrib, goth, graffiti, sans, bold, serif, and then the last two ones with the 111 and 252. These are blank templates, which we're not going to be using. I think we'll be using the sans one, which is this one, the 6 one from the left. So if we go onto sans, you'll see that we have draw your first letter. It is a template that we'll be using to draw our font. So we can navigate this template by pinching with 2 fingers to zoom in and out and scrolling with 2 fingers to go up and down. Which is really helpful is you can use these tabs on the left to scroll through your capital letters, your lowercase letters, your numbers, and your special characters. So it's very easy to navigate. It zooms in and everything for you. If you click this globe, then you can edit the languages that you'll be using. We can use basic or extended glyphs, which we'll not be using. It's more advanced. Once again, we'll do a more advanced video with maybe a very fun artistic font, but for today, we'll just do a hand lettering font, meaning that it's basically our basic handwriting that will be transforming into a font. And then here we have categories, which we can remove uppercase, lowercase, numbers, punctuation, symbols, which we'll not be doing. We'll be keeping everything as is. Okay, you can zoom out by pinching with your fingers again, but it is really useful to just stay in the navigation that they give you. You can import pictures if you drew your font on paper beforehand, which is really nice for when you plan it out. But today we're just going to be using the handwriting that we're very used to, the one that we use every day. Okay, here on the top left, we'll navigate. This is the home button. It takes us back to home. Then you can go back into your template. This is the settings. The first thing, if you have an Apple Pencil, that I would do is going down here to the setting where it says draw with finger, and I would switch that off. Because if it is on and you navigate by pinching on the screen to move, it might happen that you draw with your finger on the screen, which is really frustrating. You don't want that to happen while you are busy with your fonts. So you can switch draw with finger off so it's no longer blue. If you do not have an Apple Pencil, you can keep it on and draw with your finger. Okay, Other than that, we have template characters, which we really want on. It helps us to create the letters with them just subtly in the background. We want guides on. It just shows you where the letters start and end. I add cells as well and the grid. It gives you sort of a dot grid to work on, which is really useful, and it adds more guides to the top of your letters. Okay, so that's what I would switch on in settings. After settings, we just have help and support, which we'll not be using, and then a redo and an undo button right next to that. One showing left is undo, the one showing right is redo. We'll see, I use my fingers. 2-finger tap for undo, 3-finger tap for redo. Oh. Okay, on the right, we have the selection tool, which we'll not be using now. That's for the more advanced videos. We have a brush tool, which if you double tap it, you can go into your brush settings. We'll be basically using the brush and the pencil mostly, maybe the pen, but these two are a bit more advanced as well. We'll go through them later. You can add extra brush styles, but it's not necessary for now. And then with Procreate, if you guys are familiar with Procreate, we have an eyedropper tool, which selects the color. We have the size, the roundness, pressure sensitivity, the angle, and streamlining it. So I don't think we'll be using any of these. The pen direction is also quite nice, especially if you're doing hand lettering. So it changes the direction of your strokes into your pen's direction. So you can switch that on if you want. Streamline helps to keep your lines nice and smooth. For a very hand lettering font, which is sort of just your normal handwriting, I wouldn't streamline it too much because it makes it very smooth and you sort of want that rough appearance. So we'll be using, or I'll be using the pencil for my font. It's a bit rougher. And then maybe I'll streamline it a little bit. Okay, you can always reset your settings there at the bottom. The eraser is quite simple. You just erase what you have drawn with your eraser. And then font settings we'll not use now, but I'll show you a little bit later. And then obviously this is for exporting. Okay, when we go out, we just want to save our font. So if you have your cool font here at the bottom, you can just rename it. Let's say first ever font. Let's add an exclamation mark. Oh, we can't add an exclamation mark. Oh, well, that's fine. Let's rename it. And then everything else here is, aside from rename and delete, we'll not be using for now. So let's leave that for now and go back into our font. So we go home, back in. That's how we transition. It saves automatically. And then let's get started by drawing our very first letter. Okay, I like to zoom in and pinch. We'll be following these guides as closely as possible. Let's just make sure that we are happy with our size of the brush thickness. Let's say, yeah, I think the thickness is fine. I'm just going to take streamline down a little bit. Okay, great. Now we can start drawing. So if you want to follow these guides for your very first font, you are more than welcome. I'm just going to use my normal handwriting and then move on. Sort of like that. If you go over the lines and something doesn't look super great, then it doesn't matter. You can always just adjust the streamline, or you can undo them with a 2-finger tap. You'll notice here at the top when you start drawing, let me just add back my A. You'll notice here at the top, as soon as you add a letter, it sort of updates to the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. This is a really cool sentence. It sounds strange, but this sentence actually has all of the letters in our alphabet. So that's why they usually use it with fonts to show what every single letter looks like. And you'll also notice that when we do draw, it updates onto the sentence. which is really nice. And you can see your font sort of forming as you are busy with it. Okay, let's go to C, and then the D, and the E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Basically just saying the alphabet now. Okay, before I continue, I just want to say something as well. So when you're doing fonts, this is maybe a little bit more advanced, but just so you guys know, when you're doing fonts, you have three basic shapes. The shapes are triangles. So let me just draw here. Triangles, squares, and circles. So you'll notice that an A, for example, is a triangle shape. The B is made up of circle shapes. C's are also circle shapes. D's, circle shapes. E's are more square shapes. So when you do draw characters, you can keep in mind that when they retain these basic shapes, it is a lot easier to put them together. So when the words form at the top, you'll see because of these shapes, it looks a lot nicer. If you do really sort of strange letters like the A is rounded, that's fine too, but it's still within the shape category. So you can use these shapes to make your fonts more interesting or make them more appealing. Let's go to our M. Oh, that's not this. N, O. Oh, another thing that you can do is if you are drawing more perfect shapes, which I'm not doing now, is like in Procreate, if you draw the shape roughly and instead of lifting your pen, you keep it there, it creates perfect shapes that you can adjust by dragging your pen on the screen, which is really helpful for later on if you want to make more perfect fonts. Same with the straight lines. If you draw a straight line and you hold it in, it'll make the line perfectly straight. But that's not something that I want for now. I just want it to look as, for letting it organic, like when you draw with your hand, organic as possible. So you guys can follow along with your own handwriting. Like these things happening here, it doesn't really bother me. I just want let me just do my normal R. I just want the font to look as handwritten as possible. So this is my normal handwriting that I do every day. That's why I'm using it. It's just something I'm familiar with, and that's why we're doing it for the very first font. B, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay. As you can see here at the top, it literally used our font for the sentence and it's looking really cute. Now we're going to the lowercase letters. This lowercase letter is usually what's used for serifs, but we know a lowercase a as something that looks sort of like this. So you can just do your normal A, B, C, The L is literally just a straight line. I'm sorry if you can hear my hand on the screen. Did it add the L? Yeah. So it's going really quick. Especially when we're doing sort of our own handwriting, I think. Okay, cool. And then numbers. My numbers are a little smaller than the guide. I'm just going with what is most comfortable for me. And then the punctuation. Oh, that plus. And then minus, multiply, divide. There you go. Okay, so now when we look here, we'll see that our font has been created. Looks a little confusing there with the special characters, but that's fine. So this is what our font looks like. This is our handwritten font. And then in the next video, so this one is not too long, I'll show you guys how to display it so you can look at your font and see how it works with sentences. I'll show you guys how to create a more bubbly font, something like this. Let's do a bubbly font, something like this. So it will be more fun. You can also add color by holding your pencil in. So if you go into your shape and you hold your pen, it'll add the color, which is really cool. So we'll do a lot more fun, maybe more exciting fonts that we can use our creativity. Doesn't matter, but I'll show you guys how to do that in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a very fun time just creating your very first font. And then I'll see you next time. Bye.